Sometimes there is a moment, and most of us have had it, where you're staring at your phone, switching between five apps, trying to do one simple thing. For example, let's say you're trying to book dinner with your friends. You check if your friends are free, figure out which restaurant is convenient for all that would take a reservation, and then actually make the booking. Multiple apps, multiple tabs could take you a good few minutes. Now, imagine instead you just said it out loud to your phone. Book dinner for 4 on Saturday somewhere close that, assuming we are friends, Snigdha and Rachel will like. And your phone, not you, open the browser, check the options, cross referenced your calendar, sent a message to Snigdha and Rachel, made the reservation, and sent you a confirmation. You didn't even have to touch your phone. That is the world that every major tech company on this planet is running after right now. In fact, there is a number that has been sitting in business and tech news for the last few weeks, and I don't think it has fully landed yet. $650 billion. dollars. That is what the big tech giants like Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft have collectively committed to spending on AI infrastructure in 2026 alone. We're not talking about across the span of a few years. This is now this year. Fortune magazine actually put it best a few weeks ago. It said the amount that these four companies are spending on AI infrastructure this year now rivals the entire annual GDP of Sweden. Now, to bring that home, the entire IT industry, think TCS, Infosys, Wipro, HCL, every services contract, every outsourced code base, every support center, all of it generates roughly $280 billion dollars in revenue in a year. The American tech industry is now wanting to spend more than twice that in infrastructure alone in a single year, chasing one single idea. So the question is, what are they seeing that the rest of us are not? Because it certainly is not the chat GPT that you and I have been using. In fact, McKinsey's latest research found that 78% of companies are already running some form of generative AI, and of those, only 39% can trace any financial impact to it whatsoever. Document summaries have become a commodity now, and the chatbot wave has kind of peaked. So, whatever they are spending $650 billion dollars on is not this. What they are spending it on is called agentic AI. And in the last 6 months, it has gone on to become the single most important strategic bet in the technology industry. Sam Altman is betting OpenAI's future on it. Nvidia's Jensen Huang says that it is why AI is a growth industry, full stop. Satya Nadella thinks that it will make entire categories of business software obsolete. And Meredith Whittaker, the president of Signal, one of the sharpest tech critics around, thinks that it might be the most dangerous architectural decision the tech industry has ever made. Here is what she said in an interview to Bloomberg.
The implementations of these agents we are seeing, particularly in the operating system, which is the water that any application swims in, are pretty perilous for our future because they need access to data.
So, what actually is agentic AI? What does it need to work? And why is everyone, from the most powerful tech CEOs to the most cautious privacy advocates, talking about it right now? Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host, Snigdha Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rachel Varghese and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 19th of February. The first thing to understand is that the AI that most of us know and use is actually reactive. You type something, it responds. You close the tab, it forgets you exist. It has no ability to take action in the world on your behalf and absolutely no power to do anything unless you're sitting there prompting it. It is a very, very capable text box, but it is still a box. Agentic AI breaks out of that box. What makes AI agentic, and here the word matters, is agency. the ability to act independently in the world. An agentic AI system is given a goal, not just a question. And then it figures out the steps, uses the tools available to it, checks its own work, and keeps going until the job is done. There's no hand holding required, minimal human involvement, just task in, outcome out. Now, the reason that the entire industry is pivoting to this so hard, so fast, is that the previous wave of AI has kind of hit a wall. Every major company deployed chatbots, summarizers, image generators, and then it turned out that most people found them impressive but not essential. McKinsey found that nearly 8 in 10 companies are now using generative AI in at least one business function. And yet, more than 80% are seeing no meaningful impact on their bottom line. The whole wow of ChatGPT kind of seems to be wearing off. And just as this is happening, the revenue question is getting louder. Agentic AI is the industry's answer to that question. It is the AI that does your work instead of helping you do your work. And the leaders in this space are not shy about saying so. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang says that there are a billion knowledge workers in the world, and that is the market that they're going after. It is not the consumer playing with a chatbot on their phone. We are talking about the employee, the analyst, the support rep, the coder, basically, the person who gets paid to process information and make decisions. If you can automate that, even partially, you've built something worth trillions of dollars. And that is exactly what every major AI company is now racing to do. So, what does an AI agent actually need to function, and what does that mean for you and me? Hang on to find out. Now, here is where things get a bit uncomfortable because the promise of agentic AI is very real, but so is what it requires to function. Let's go back to our opening scene. Your phone books dinner for four seamlessly. Now, think of the question that no one in the marketing materials of these AI companies tells you. How did it do that? To book that dinner, the agent needed to read your messages, to know who Rachel and Snigdha are, how to reach them. It needed access to your calendar, your contact list, your messages. It also needed your location or your address to know what close even means. And it needed your payment details to actually make that booking. And it needed your browser to navigate the restaurant site. That is five or six separate systems or pools of deeply personal data. And the agent didn't just read them, you gave it power to act inside of them, to mark your calendar, to send your messages, to charge your card. Meredith Whittaker, the president of Signal, former AI researcher at Google, co founder of the AI Now Institute, and one of the most credible tech critics working today, walked through exactly this scenario at an event this year. And her conclusion was blunt. Listen.
You read the kind of you read the marketing on this. The value add is something like can look up a concert, book a ticket, schedule it in your calendar, and message all your friends that it's booked, right? And so we can just put our brain in a jar because the thing is doing that and we don't have to touch it, right? So what would it need to do that? Well, it would need access to our browser, an ability to drive that. It would need our credit card information to pay for the tickets. It would need access to our calendar, everything we're doing, everyone we're meeting. It would need access to Signal to open and send that message to our friends. And it would need to be able to drive that across our entire system with something that looks like root permission.
Root permission. That is essentially the deepest level of access that exists on a computer, the kind that normally only the operating system itself has. You would be giving an AI system the keys to everything. And it doesn't stop there. Because a system powerful enough to do all of this almost certainly cannot run entirely on your device. That data, your messages, your payment information, your calendar, is being sent to a cloud server, processed, and then returned to you. Somewhere in between your phone and that server, everything about you and your life is in transit. Whitaker's phrase for what this amounts to is kind of hard to forget. She called it putting your brain in a jar. You hand the thinking, the deciding, the acting to a system that you cannot see running on infrastructure that you do not own. And her most pointed observation, published in Fortune late last year, was this: the reason companies are moving this fast, despite knowing the security architecture is not ready, is financial pressure. The infrastructure spend is, in her words, eye watering. The investors need a return. And so the deployments happen anyway. So, who is right and where does it actually leave us? Stay tuned to find out. Let me give you the most honest position. Both things are true at the same time. Agentic AI is not hype in the way that, say, the metaverse was hype. There are real deployments, real productivity gains, and real examples of agents doing things that would have required entire teams just 3 years ago. Salesforce replaced 4,000 customer service roles with AI agents that now handle half of all customer interactions. That has already happened. These systems work and are in place. But the gap between what works in a controlled environment and what works in the world outside is huge. Gartner research predicts that more than 40% of agentic AI projects will be cancelled by 2027. Because why? Too expensive, unclear returns, and not enough safeguards. And the research is clear on where agents actually succeed. Tasks where the output is easy to check, where data is rich and structured, and where the scope is tightly defined. For example, the concert booking in a demo, the code generation, not the messy, ambiguous, high stakes decisions that organizations actually need help with. And underneath all of this is the data question that nobody has fully answered. For agents to function at the level that tech leaders are describing right now, they need access to systems that hold the most sensitive information that exists about a person or a company. The question of who holds that data, who is liable when something goes wrong, and what happens when an agent makes a catastrophic error in a production environment, these are not technical questions. They are governance policy questions. And right now, the answer to most of them is we haven't decided yet. Whitaker's warning, and it is worth sitting down with, is that the financial incentives are structured in a way that makes caution almost impossible in this situation. The companies that built this infrastructure spent at a scale that they have to get a return. Every quarter, they need a story for their investors. Agentic AI is that story, which means the pressure to deploy is enormous and the pressure to slow down and build secure foundations is comparatively much weaker. So, where does that leave you and I? Opting out is probably not going to be an option. The choice that we do have is whether to engage with it knowingly, understand what you're handing over, who holds it, and what the recourse is when the agent gets it wrong. The tech leaders tell us this is the future of work. Meredith Whittaker says that it is the future of surveillance. The honest answer is probably both, and we haven't decided yet which one we're okay with.
Daybreak is produced from the newsroom of The Ken, India's first subscriber-focused business news platform. What you're listening to is just a small sample of our subscriber-only offerings, and a full subscription offers daily, long-form feature stories, newsletters, and a whole bunch of premium podcasts. To subscribe, head to theken.com and click on the red subscribe button on the top of the website. Today's episode was hosted and produced by my colleague Snigdha Sharma and edited by Rajiv CN.